A bad hair transplant choice will not only destroy your hair, but it can also destroy your life. 7 years ago, I had a hair transplant in Turkey.
Today is the day of the procedure. I'm gonna show you how it's gonna look like in a couple hours.
It was a good deal, but it needed to be fixed with another surgery eventually, as the hairline did not look natural and I didn't feel good about it as time went on. And through my own experience, I was able to identify the silent red flags that should help you make the good decisions and avoid the bad ones when booking hair transplants overseas. If you are traveling to Turkey to get a hair transplant, it feels almost like a guided holiday tour. You arrive, you will be picked up at the airport, brought to the hotel, brought to the clinic, everybody behaves super nice. It's almost like the friendly tour guide who is later expecting a tip from you. Everything is going seamlessly, and then suddenly you are sitting in the operation chair hoping the medical staff will do everything as discussed during the consultation and all of your expectations will be met 100%. Unfortunately, this is often not the case. Most guys researching best hair transplant clinics in Turkey are unfortunately oftentimes unaware completely of the red flags happening during the pre-operative consultation that should signal you that this is not the right consultation room to be sitting in. Right now, you should be already aware of the obvious pre-operation red flags, like the doctor is not even present during the final consultation that literally determines the destiny of your hair, or the red flag that the consultation lasts like 2 minutes without any past discussions with the doctor online or offline. If you were not aware of these obvious ones, now you know. However, let's talk about the more subtle and quite serious red flags that 99% of guys out there would not even think of them as red flags, because you might be already feeling too laid back, not trying to do a lot of thinking anymore, leaving everything on the experts while you are enjoying the medical tourism experience. How do I know about these issues? Well, I visited 15 hair transplant clinics in Turkey, more than 30 worldwide, was present during dozens and dozens of hair transplant consultations at different clinics, and was able to identify key success and key failure factors that I'm going to be also including in this video. Before I share the red flag number 1, let me show you the following examples from different Turkish hair transplant clinics where you can see the transplanted areas as well as the number of follicles that were transplanted. Now, what can you see here? Well, a relatively small area with a quite high graft allocation. An uneducated person sees this. Wow, this small surface is filled with a lot of grafts. Where did you go, man? I want this density as well. Give me the number of the clinic. An educated person who did some research already on this matter thinks the following. Oh no, they extracted close to 50% of the donor reserves what an average person has just to fill this small area? What a waste! I have already seen similar balding areas being restored way more economically with fewer grafts. How many of those guys will be able to have like a second or third surgery if they need one? And how many grafts will they be able to get? And boy, they will need the second or third surgery, especially if they're getting a transplant in their 20s right now. So to put a name tag on this first red flag, it will be overgrafting. Overgrafting is a common practice in Turkey to make patients believe that they would not be able to achieve this density elsewhere. This is not only wrong, but comes at the expense of a big donor hair loss. Even if the hair grows back full, guys are unaware of what mistakes they have made until they need a second major surgery after that. Why? Because this strategy often leaves patients with a full-looking front, super dense, hairline on steroids type of look that doesn't blend well with the hair behind in the long run once patients start to recede further, requiring more and more touch-ups or scalp micropigmentation, use of hair fibers, etc. to achieve smooth blending. And if you ask me now, why would the clinic let this happen? Lack of precise calculations and poor planning. If you encounter a lack of these things during your consultation or even before, while you are in the process of communicating with your clinic from overseas and receiving very little details, this should at least raise some concerns. So maybe you have just received a quote from a clinic in Turkey and it sounded like this: "We will give you as many grafts as you need for the best results." That's the good one. That's the old one. Or, "It is hard to tell you right now, we will tell you during the consultation when you come because of some complex circumstance that is different about your case than with others." You can at least give the patient a range, a graft range, so he knows if he's dealing with a clinic that is driven by calculations and planning versus a clinic driven by pure marketing and sales. as it is oftentimes the case, unfortunately. That brings me to the red flag number 2. Do you know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it? Many Turkish clinics, however, behave like the following saying, if it is broken a little, we rather triple fix it. Here's what I mean by that. And this is especially important for guys in their 20s and early 30s with signs of early hair loss in some areas of the scalp that have not yet developed into shiny bald skin yet. Just because there is a visible hair thinning issue on your head, it does not automatically mean that it needs a full-on hair restoration with maximum amounts of density. This is unfortunately where I see many clinics convincing their patients, in Turkey especially, that an area with some early hair loss showing a good amount of existing hair population should be future-proofed or grafted with new hair as much as possible, so in case you lose more hair on this area, it will not be as visible in the future. In theory, it sounds nice. However, in practicality, you are running into 2 issues. Number 1, grafting new hair in high densities next to the existing hair on the scalp can damage your existing hair during the graft placement. You gain more hair, but you also lose some, so in the end, it is almost never a win-win trade. And number 2, it puts a lot of stress on your blood supply, so some of the existing hair may not survive this shock, and in some cases even the new transplanted hair if the density has been overblown. That's why most of the best surgeons in the world never do more than like 50 grafts per centimeter square to 45 grafts per centimeter square on complete balding area during the first surgery, and then increase it to 50 to even 60 during the second one if necessary, like if you have very fine hair, for example. Now, if you have some existing hair behind, they future-proof it a little, like maybe 50% or less of the density they use on the front, where it was completely bald, which could translate to maybe 15 to 25 more grafts per centimeter square in those areas that have some existing hair in them. Plus, if you are not on finasteride, don't do any future-proofing, because you will most guaranteed experience some bad shock loss. That means some of your existing hair as well as transplanted hair may not give you the best synergy, and the end result will not look full at all. Now, what is the silent red flag number 3 that I'm seeing, unfortunately, in almost 99% of Turkish hair transplant clinics? And I'm not even overdoing it, because since there are more than 2,000 clinics in Turkey, literally less than a dozen of them makes this step correctly. It would be not making a proper assessment of how suitable of a candidate for a hair transplant you really are. The good news is it can be assessed by 5 simple hair transplant suitability factors laid out in this video. So make sure you watch it next and find out where you really stand on the hair transplant suitability scale before acting too impulsively with any hair transplant clinic in Turkey. I'm sure it will help you a lot, so see you there.